Can you tell us a little bit about what happens when you recite a poem by your sister, and why did you choose that particular one?
So I grew up in a very large household because I'm from the north of Pakistan and we tend to have a lot of siblings. And we are 6 in total, you know? And it's quite a resource-deprived setting up there in the north. We've been very marginalized ever since Pakistan was made. So we had these side drawers in our household growing up, you know, that were considered a special furniture item, and the drawers in there used to be locked. And my sister had this diary where she used to write her poems and keep rose petals in there and put some perfume on the pages and used to lock in there. But I was always very close to my sister growing up, so I used to unlock that drawer, take it out, and just read it. So growing up, I started making sense of what she had written. And this is one poem that always struck a chord with me. It's just stayed with me. And the way I've related with it, it used to be my guilty little secret pleasure, unlocking that secret drawer, taking that diary out, sitting down, reading it, and then growing to understand what it means to me. And I believe it's a very relatable poem as well. It's got a very nice meaning to it on how somebody wants companionship to cross the journey of a lifetime. But then they understand and realize that the person had their own needs and they just went their own way, and you went your own way. So there is longing, there's despair, but there's also a foreboding sense of reality, and that you have to get by and do what you do. And that the journey is going to be tough, the journey is going to be hard. You might just be a lonely traveler along the path, but that's how it is. It's bittersweet.
And it's interesting that at that early age,
Yeah.
this tone kind of struck you and got you. So
Yeah.
from very early on, you seem to know there's a long journey ahead of you.
Perhaps. I think the title struck me, Tanha Musafir. It means the lonely traveler. And we are a very artistic culture and society, I guess. We grow up with a lot of references around us on television and in media and in our literature. So we somehow tend to attach with these little phrases. And I think the meaning of the poem has also evolved as I've grown older. Like when I was a teenager, I used to associate with it thinking of my teenage crushes. Now that I'm an older person, I'm 27, I look at it in the context of my life and my life's journeys.
Yeah. What would you say is there a kind of specialty to the fact that you, if you know a poem by heart, you don't read it, you take it with you when you travel, right? It's because Plato made this distinction once, long time ago. He said, you know, if it's in a book, it's dead knowledge. But if you know it, if you carry it with you, that has a different meaning to it.
Absolutely, because my sister's diary had over 100 poems, and she just stopped writing and she lost the diary. And she only remembers a few of them. And this is the one that she'd always remember because this is also her favorite as well. And I've always known it as well. Of course, I forget it sometimes. I have to call her, hey sister, I've forgotten a few lines here or there. Can you remind me? But yeah, I think it's quite special that you carry it with you.
Okay. Let's move on. Just a question in advance. The next thing that you'll be reciting for us. If you think about that combination of joy of Urdu, what comes to your mind, right? If you can associate, because when I asked Asif Saab, he said normally the word joy and Urdu, that's not a usual combination.
Yeah, it's a very serious combination, exactly. And Urdu is not my first language. Urdu would be perhaps my third language because I grew up in the north and I'm two-tongued, as they say. My mother tongue is Hindko. So that's the language that I revert to whenever I'm angry or very excited. But we study Urdu in school, and Urdu poetry, I think, is one of the most beautiful literary things to happen to humankind, I guess. And we've associated a lot with that as well. And it deals with a lot of subjects and themes, particularly romance. But the theme of romance is always explored in conjunction with other themes, for instance, the landscape or despair or longing. And these are all human emotions that we can somehow relate to. The association of joy with Urdu for me would be when I was in the US, all my Indian friends would always request me to recite something to them in Urdu because they think it's a beautiful language. So when you are having or receiving that external validation, when someone else is telling you that, hey, your language is beautiful, we want to know more about it, I think that's when the joy aspect comes into play as well. So it's both inherent and external somehow.
And if you, of course, it's such a complex field, it's hard to answer that in an interview like that, but if you had to tell us about the differences, the different advantages of Urdu, for instance, in relation to English, for instance, but first I would like you to, can you curse in this, what's the first language?
Hind ko.
Can you say something in,
I thought you were saying, can you curse in Hind ko?
yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, Hind ko is a really fun language. I love Hind ko. Mara naam Moise hai. I just said that my name is Moise. So it's very similar to Punjabi, and then we also have a lot of different dialects. The Abbottabadi dialect is different, and the Mansara dialect is different, and I speak the Mansara dialect because that's where my mom and dad are from. So it's quite an interesting language. But you were talking about the difference between Urdu and English, and I've always said this, I think Urdu is a very expressive language. For instance, we don't have one word for love. I always say the English language, of course, has synonyms for love, but you say, I love my dog, I love chocolate, I love my mom, and I love my boyfriend or girlfriend. And it's the same word used to explain for absolutely different sorts of feelings. Urdu sometimes also alludes to this concept of ishq, and ishq means a form of love, or just an umbrella term for love, and how there are 7 stages of it. So there is dilkashi, when you're attracted to someone. There is uns, when you're fond of someone. There is muhabbat, which is the traditional love. Then there is aqidat, which is loyalty. Then there is ibadat, which is worship. There is junoon, which is madness. And then there is death, which is the Sufi concept where when you die, you meet your creator, and that's the highest and the purest form of love. So see, these are the small joys that I find in Urdu because I believe it's a very expressive language.